If rates stay high, maybe I rotate into short duration T-bills, unless inflation surprises to the upside.
Didn't I tell you can just buy Bitcoin?
All these companies are trading at a premium over their MNAV. Which one should I invest in?
You could just buy Bitcoin.
So we're thinking a tech-heavy index fund, maybe with a little uranium exposure? You do know Bitcoin exists, right?
I follow a newsletter that tracks the Fed's liquidity taps in real time.
Sounds exhausting. Why don't you just buy Bitcoin?
Okay, but which Bitcoin ETF is best? Fidelity, BlackRock?
Did you know you can just buy Bitcoin?
Oh no, that's it, guys. The price of Bitcoin is crashing. It is over for the crypto markets. Sell all your Bitcoin, all your Ethereum, sell all your altcoins, run for the hills, go buy some government bonds, sit in cash, because we are ready for a massive bear market. Or at least that's what every single person, or not everybody, but a lot of people say every single time Bitcoin takes this type of a dip. That's it. It's the top. There's always some crazy reason for how we've been fooled and it's all just a giant bull trap. And if we just zoom in and have a look at what's going on right now, we're literally having about a 9% pullback, and we've even recovered a little bit since then. In fact, in just this bull run alone, since we had the bottom around 16,000, we've had multiple 20% pullbacks, two pullbacks over 30%, and this pullback hasn't even been able to break 10% just yet. But of course, it's the top, it's over. So what is going on right now, guys? Well, ultimately, this is just the emotions of the markets, and this is just something that you have to get used to, especially if you are new in cryptocurrency. But I'm going to tell you something right now. A lot of these types of investors, or these people who are saying these things, or people who are following them, are going to end up shooting themselves in the foot. I'm going to go over so much stuff today that is going to show you why this is so much bigger than the majority of people even realize it actually is. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of a Bitcoin insight, a little bit of data that might actually blow your mind. So you're going to want to stick around until the very end of this video. I'll also throw in some Ethereum analysis for everyone who wants that at the end, but I think it's a good place to start on some Bitcoin. Oh, by the way, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crypto Zombie. My name is K-Dub, and I don't normally do this in the beginning of the video, but I want to do it in the beginning of the video because a lot of people are concerned about price. So let's really quick have a honest look at what's going on right now in the Bitcoin price action, right? So if we have a look right here, first of all, this is what everybody is freaking out about. Just to point this out, this is the monthly candle. I mean, this looks ridiculous. When I look at this logarithmic chart, you gotta be kidding me. This is what we're freaking out about. If we come over here and have a look at the FEMX chart, you could see that we did have this upwards diagonal trend. It did have 3 points of contact, and okay, it did break. But ultimately, the more important areas are the horizontals, right? Not so much these diagonals. And this area right here, we had massive consolidation between around 98 and $109,000. And that's what gave us this purple zone right here, where we said that even if we were to break this trend, we could still see Bitcoin potentially bounce around somewhere between the lowest 108 to around 112. And that's where we're having that bounce right now. In fact, you could see right here that we do have a little bit of potential resistance, but at the end of the day, this 9% sort of pullback is nothing that we haven't seen before for crypto. And just pointing out this massive, I still have the drawings on it from the last time we looked at this, but back here, we had this trend line that had been starting all the way since back around December of 2017. And every single time Bitcoin came up to this area, we were rejected. Even just recently, as of May of this year, we got rejected multiple times. And as you can see right here, we actually broke through this, came down, and tested on this support twice. See these two candles right here? And we are testing on it the third time. This is unprecedented. This is a phenomenal move for Bitcoin that has been setting up for literally years. Now, you might be saying, well, what happens if we break this area? What happens if we fall a little bit lower? Well, these are where these candles can come into play. These are where you can have these wicks that come below the area. And when you have the reversion of this EMA on the daily, obviously you could see down here, we have a flip. You're having the lower flip to the higher, and then you have them in consecutive order. And what happens is now that acts as your support. This 89 right here, this lavender, this very low area, that tends to be the perfect, not always perfect, but a great area if you are looking to put in some form of longs, and it tends to provide that support. Now, you can see, yes, we did wick below it, but we closed above it. Right here, we have not even touched it yet. So that's sitting at around $111,000. $1,000. So that would be probably the lowest you would see this move as far as a close is concerned. But could we actually go lower? Well, of course we can, because if we look at the VRVP, we do have some interest down here, okay, at around the top of this area, and you could see this big open gap right here, and that's sort of where we're hanging out. But right here, we have a lot of volume, and that area is around the 110, 109. Do we have anything else that's backing that up? Yes, we have the original 1 on this Fibonacci that we retraced all the way back down to this move, which is how we got these levels to begin with, and again, that's sitting around 109, 893. However, keep in mind that while the low-end target is 109, the high-end target of this move, this short-term move, is the 1.618 at around $132,280. So I just wanted to refresh everybody right now. This is normal. In fact, what you're seeing right now are potentially good opportunities for setups. You can set some buy orders. You can even set some longs at those areas, right? Because you don't want to be longing the breakouts and shorting the breakdowns. I know there's a lot of people out there that follow, I'm not going to name people, but that's how they tell you to trade. To me, that's stupid. That's higher risk. That's unnecessary risk than you need. If you guys do want to trade, though, there is this Femex VIP trial bonus. It's still going for another 16 days. I have that link below in the description, which will get you up to $1,300 plus rewards. They actually have another $4,000 on top of that, as well as their trading competition that's going on right now. That'll be lasting another 10 days. So if you guys want to get all of those bonuses, make sure to check out all those links below, okay? So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to set up something right now, not financial advice, but this is where I do some of my futures trading. I have other platforms as well, but those are areas of interest that I am looking at. Now, hey, it might not get hit. That's fine, you know, and it might even go lower a little bit, okay? But these are the areas you got to play these smart when you're moving forward. So let's talk about some sentiment and what's going on right now. Speaking of sentiment, if we go over and look at Santiment, they put out a lot of these cool charts. I really like following these guys, and they were pointing out that if you really have a look at these areas where you have this type of fear, the crowd shows major fear as U.S. airstrikes Iran over conflict with Israel. Optimal dip buying moment. Again, August 19th, crowd gives up and begins to panic sell. Of course, we get the bounce. And right now, retail traders, what are they doing? They've done a complete 180 after Bitcoin fell below 113,000. In the past 24 hours, they've had the most bearish sentiment seen on social media since the 2nd of June. So again, what are we seeing? We're seeing retail traders freak out. But this is why you have to pay attention. If you're new to crypto, or maybe some of you actually have done very well, I hope you have. I've been trying for years and years on this channel to get as many people to buy Bitcoin as possible. We've been talking about Bitcoin since it was as low as $3,000 on this channel. I've begged my audience to get as much as you can. If you're new, don't panic, okay? There is still opportunity ahead, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, but if you freak out, every time that we have a 10% dip, you sell, you do these erratic, emotional moves, you're going to blow your account out, and it's not going to end well, right? So at the end of the day, if you're not a good trader, that's fine. Most people are not good traders. DCA is fine. Or you can follow my channel. You know, there's other great analysts, and there are great setups. For example, the one I just mentioned. And there's so much good news that's come out. I don't even know how people can be bearish. $3 trillion Goldman Sachs says trillions are about to flow into Bitcoin and crypto. Wall Street is ready to embrace Bitcoin. You have the top 100 Bitcoin treasury companies holding almost 1 million Bitcoin. And it's actually getting, I don't want to say boring, but we've just been, you know, for all this bearish sentiment, there is literally nothing but good news coming out. Nothing but good news. We have companies putting it on the balance sheet. We have more and more of these treasuries, more opportunities for people who have never been able to get into crypto before, who don't want to touch a Coinbase with these ETFs, with these other financial products, right? And the other thing that was really massive that I feel, again, no one's paying much attention to is the fact that, as we had over here, this is Bill Miller, the fourth, and he's talking about the $60 trillion in retirement funds that now have access to Bitcoin. In about, I think it was 2 videos ago, we spoke about just 2% allocation from Wall Street, okay? But what about the average individual who doesn't want to do the investing, doesn't want to do the hard work, doesn't want to pay attention to stocks and bonds and cryptos and all this other things? What happens when they put in just 1 to 2%?
But I think sellers are missing the forest for the trees here. If you look at 2 days before that interview, the Fed actually ended their supervisory program on novel activities, which effectively means crypto banks. And then a week prior to that, President Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Labor to rescind prior guidance that effectively kept everyone in retirement plans out of digital assets. There's still legislative work that needs to be done there, but that's massive news. So there are 60 trillion worth of assets globally in retirement accounts with zero allocation right now to digital assets. Every 1% allocation from that 60 trillion adds $30,000 to Bitcoin's price. And so from my perspective, a 2% allocation would be conservative when you consider that all of those assets are currently in a monetary framework whose authorities have told you they want to depreciate it by 2% a year. So why wouldn't those accounts stick 2% of everything denominated in a melting ice cube and stick it in another protocol altogether? So again, that alone would take us to Bitcoin at 175K, or up more than 50% from here. We still think we are incredibly early. We're still seeing early signs of institutional adoption. You look at Norges, the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, almost $2 trillion in assets, has been increasing its exposure to Bitcoin and digital assets. It's still a rounding error for them. But when the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, the world's largest endowment in Harvard is now buying Bitcoin, starts to do it, that opens up the door for all the other relevant parties, other endowments, other sovereign wealth funds to do this in a very interesting way. So, we think we're very early in the dominoes falling. Most of the world has zero allocation digital assets still, and we think there's a very long roadway ahead of us.
And you know what else gets me is everybody's always paying attention to what all these big names have to say about crypto, but let's not forget Donald Trump hated crypto. He said it was nothing but thin air. Michael Saylor used to hate Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Harvard, okay, this came out in 2018. A decade from now, Bitcoin is more likely to be $100 than $100,000. This was in 2018. Do you know what Harvard just did this year? They bought $116 million worth of Bitcoin, and they actually bought it higher than the price right now. Yeah, around $116,000. So you can't always listen to all of this madness. We know that Bitcoin has been the best performing asset. And Gary Cardone, who I actually had a chance to meet him finally in person at the Vegas Crypto Bitcoin Conference. That was actually pretty cool. But he was over here on Scott Melker's podcast, Wolf of Wall Street's, talking about basically they're getting scared of these high net worth individuals that might be coming into Bitcoin right now.
Dude, I think we're so early here. I think people are starting to freak out over these numbers. It's a little bit like the Bitcoin community doesn't want us coming in here a little bit. I get that sense a little bit. Like, you kind of want the number to go up, but you really don't want us here. And this is the comment I made. I'm like, dude, the day Bitcoin becomes easy for wealthy people to come in here, they don't have to read the white paper 30 times, is the day Bitcoin really does well.
But the reality is a lot of people don't really understand the mentality of these types of people. What they realize, and what hopefully most of you realize, is look at the purchasing power of just simply saving your money in a bank account. Just putting away in savings and just, putting it away for a rainy day. So since 2000, so this is 25 years. Actually, you know what? I have an even better statistic for you. Let's not even go back to 2000. Like Simply Bitcoin points out, if you had $10,000 in 2015, not even 2000, 2015, this was only 10 years ago, that $10,000 is down about 40% today, meaning if you had $10,000 in 2015, your purchasing power is less than $6,000 today. And this is why the education system, I'm not trying to rag on it, if anyone out there is a teacher or whatever, I'm just saying that it does not teach children about finances, or at least not financial literacy, right? And that's something that even I was not aware of, really until I understood Bitcoin and started diving deeper down into the rabbit hole. But, we have other things on our side as well. We also have the fact that the Fed is around an 82.9% chance of doing some kind of a rate cut. Are they going to do it? I don't know. We have Jackson Hole coming up and Powell's going to speak. The minutes are going on. That's not that big of a deal. But as far as that's concerned, maybe we're going to have to pay attention to the tone. Markets tend to get a little bit volatile. So if you see some crazy price action from now through the weekend, it's to be expected, because now that we do have these bigger players in, they do tend to treat Bitcoin a little bit, the way that they treat stocks and other things of that nature. But Bitcoin has a major, major advantage over all of that. And I wanted to drop this really quick. So you guys know British Hodl. He's been on the channel before. We had a few interviews back in the day when he was talking about the Bitcoin ETFs. Really freaking cool guy. Definitely a lot more stern and straightforward. He has a way about speaking, but he really spits some truth. And he was talking about the idea that people do not actually understand the monster that's coming in right now. Not in a negative way, not a bad monster, but these new investors that are coming into cryptocurrency. The way that he basically words it is that whatever you imagine your ultimate amount of money to be, whatever you consider to be enough to be financially free or the perfect life you could be living, for these people that are coming in now, that would be the worst possible life. In other words, they would want to unalive themselves, etc. So I want to play this clip and really pay attention, even though, yes, he's speaking a little bit more to the potentially higher net worth individuals, people with a few million or more, $5 to $10 million net worth, etc. But I really think it's a valuable point and something you should really listen to.
But look, Bitcoin is the scarcest asset humanity has ever seen. The type of predator that's now waking up to Bitcoin, talking about BlackRock, family offices, sovereign nation states, etc., they're now waking up to it, right? And so I speak to people who have got let's say $3, $4, $5, $10, $15 million net worth, and they have a dream of what net worth level they want to get to. And I always remind them that the buyer of Bitcoin that's now waking up could wake up with your dream life. So the life that you are envisioning for yourself, right? The life that you one day maybe want to live if Bitcoin works out, whatever. They would wake up with that life and commit suicide. That's how much of a downgrade your dream life would be to the buyer that's now waking up to Bitcoin. But I'm speaking directly to you if you are someone who wants wealth, who feels in their soul that they need wealth, not only for themselves, but for their legacy. And you're going to be faced with this, and people are being faced with this. My friend just bought a Rolex, right? And the reason why he sold this Bitcoin was because he said, I don't know, maybe the market's topped out and it's getting boring. So I've been trying to tell you that the thing that's gonna f you is you, because this is going to be the most boring trade from here on out. We are going sideways and up, and that is the best situation that can happen, right? Because for someone like a BlackRock, for someone like a MicroStrategy, for someone like a nation state, you don't want assets going up 400% in 3 months and then diving 80% for 3 years. That doesn't make any sense, right? The incentive structure's changed. And they have enough capital to buoy the market up. And you can see that because, just 2 weeks ago, 0.5% of the total supply of Bitcoin was dumped onto the market, and the market dropped 3%. So you are going to be the one that fucks you. There is no one else, right? Now the poor people are gonna say, I couldn't get into Bitcoin, I didn't have an education, people didn't tell me about it, blah, blah, blah. But the real fact is, you didn't pay attention, you weren't in the right headspace, the opportunity wasn't there, you were too young. There's actual factual reason that is your fault that you didn't get to Bitcoin, or you didn't get to one Bitcoin. It's your fault.
Again, he can certainly be a little bit more direct and stern and to the point, but hey, preach it, man, because it's true. A lot of people are going to sell their Bitcoin. Now, look, if you need to sell your Bitcoin to live, I get it. I've been there. I had to live off of Bitcoin. I had no choice. I had to sell Bitcoin at 6,000. I had to sell at 10. I had to sell at 25 and 40 and 60, right? Because I literally live off of cryptocurrency. I live off of Bitcoin. So I don't have a choice. But what I am saying is, if you are new or you don't have enough or you have these goals that you're looking to attain in your life, then, we went a long time. I'm not going to go over my story again on this channel, but everyone who's been following me for years, my house went into foreclosure. I sold all of my cars. I rode a bicycle for 2 years. A lot of people don't believe that. It's not like I was just born into this life of lavish wealth. I was very disciplined. I went many, many years of my life sacrificing, trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I possibly could, right? And even then I thought I was late, right? When Bitcoin hit 20,000, I was like, man, I'm late to this boat. You're not late. 100,000 seems like a lot, but when you have a look at the M2 money supply, you realize that they are going to endlessly print money into oblivion. Also, just following global liquidity, we're here. What do you I think a 5-year-old could look at this chart. What do you think will happen? If you had to take an educated guess, what do you think might happen with Bitcoin with this 105-day lag, right? So we have about 105 days lag if we overlay these charts. I think you know where I'm going with this. So that being said, guys, I do want to talk a little bit about the altcoins. We don't talk about altcoins much on this channel, but you've had people preaching alt season for literally 2 years. I mean, yeah, you had some meme coin pumps here and there, pumpfund.com. Ultimately, we've been doing nothing on this channel but trying to educate the masses to at least wake up, buy some Bitcoin, try to get to 1 Bitcoin, try to get to more than 1 Bitcoin if you can, right? What was that statistic? If you get to 1.6 Bitcoin, you're the 1% basically, because 95% of the world does not own Bitcoin, which is crazy, or any crypto for that matter. So looking here, what we do have is potentially, could it be a fake out? Yes, but this is the Bitcoin dominance, and we have had a rejection off of this line. So as we know, when we do have this dominance start to fall on Bitcoin, that tends to be where you could see these plays for the altcoin. So I want to get into some Ethereum really quick just to talk about what's been going on. I did make that video. Sorry for spinning around in a circle. I guess a lot of people got dizzy. Hopefully this is a lot more calm for you. But before we get into that, I do just want to remind you guys, if you want to get an edge on your trading, if you want some of these free alerts, you can join the Discord for Meta Signals. These are the types of alerts that you receive. They're very clean, okay? They tell you exactly where you can put your stop losses, where you have your take profits. It's usually take profits 1, 2, and 3. They go in both the long and the short directions as well. They also have a $3,000 cash back. Now, it obviously does depend on the NFT price. It depends on the Ethereum price, but at this point, the ETH price in USD, as long as it's over $4,000, you're eligible for a $3,000 cash back. So definitely check that out below. And also just wanted to mention that they do have some copy trading over on Blowfin. So if you use that link, you can get a $1,000 bonus. And you can also do some copy trading, not all copy trading. Obviously, the meat and potatoes is going to be in the actual app itself. But if you just want to check some of those out for free, you can also, if you put a little bit in there, put 5%, do some copy trading. That's up to you, not financial advice, guys. So talking about Ethereum, Ethereum has been in this ridiculous range all the way back since November of 2021. We haven't even gotten back to the all-time high. So it's been a lagger, right? It hasn't been a great performer. I know a lot of people say, oh, ETH did really well in the past couple months. Yes, it did. But for the majority, I mean, we've been talking about this for 4 years plus, and this is why we were saying Bitcoin. Because if you switch this to the Bitcoin dominance, the Ethereum Bitcoin comparative, it only just broke out of this area right here. And it does sort of look like it's starting to test. And what's really interesting about this, if you have a look at Ethereum, look at the last time right down here, okay? You see this area where we started to actually break up on this MACD and you started to see this cross over like this? Look at that area, right? That was a big symbol. And when we had this giant MACD, I don't know what you want to call it, sort of a bullish, the green zone, whatever. I'm sure there's a better term for what I'm trying to explain to you. But long story short, just look with your eyes and you could see we were in this area right here. Well, we're doing the same thing right here. Look at this shooting up. This is not curving down. This doesn't look like it wants to turn over. We still have a lot higher we can go for this peak. And it's not even really half at what it is before. So this could potentially be the area for that reversal if you wanted to start allocating into some Ethereum at this moment. Of course, for me, the big thing I try to do is accumulate as much Bitcoin, Bitcoin, but if I can take these opportunities, for example, right here, again, talking about the 50%, look at where this potential anchor wave is over here on Market Cipher. Another great indicator, by the way. I do have a link for that below. And you could see this down here around, what is this, 8? We're only at around, half of that right now. So, I mean, still money in the green, moving to the upside. How people can possibly be bearish in any of this situation, I have absolutely no idea. So that's where I leave it for you guys today. Again, don't get caught off sides. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. I don't even think it's this big conspiracy. It's not like they're out to steal your Bitcoin. They want to take your Bitcoin. No, I just think literally you're dealing with a different animal, like British Hodl said. They're not interested in 5%, 10% pumps and 80% drawdowns. These are guys that are looking to build massive wealth generationally over time. They're looking to buy and hold, and they're coming in with big bazookas, big time money, okay? So just keep that in mind, guys. And also, if you guys do want to follow me over on LevX, I do have a social media platform over there where I will be sharing stuff when I am not here. You can sign up with that bonus. And one thing I also wanted to tell you, which is really cool about LevX, which I have not seen from a lot of other really exchanges, is having these multi-trades. You can have multiple trades hedging in different directions all at the same time. I think they offer up to 10 of them. So, if you wanted to hedge maybe a couple percent long and a little bit short, you wanted to do it either way, you could hedge that. I mean, look, for me, I don't really make things that complicated, but they do offer that if you're interested. And again, guys, 16 days left for the VIP trial on Femex. So that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I hope this helps you to sort of understand a little bit, even if we had a 20% dip, we're still in an uptrend. We had two 30% dips during this bull run and multiple 20% dips. We didn't even break 10% this time. This is a dip for ants. This is just trying to, fool you, make you sell. If you want to take profits and you've been holding Bitcoin since, 10,000, then sure, take some profits. But why? Why would you take profit? What are you going to take it into? Dollars? You're going to hold dollars? How's that working out for everybody since 2015, right? Down 40%. So if you guys want to trade, check out these tutorials popping up right here, right now. I have a Femex tutorial. I also have some other ones. We have BitGet, we have Bybet, a couple other ones below. You can check that out. But ultimately, that is it for me. Thanks again for coming back to the channel. I love you. You're awesome. Stay crypto. And of course, peace out.